and let's see what's the first topic that comes up here. All right. What do you know about Pat Verbeek, the newest general manager of the Anaheim Ducks? That was announced today, Thursday.
What I know about him is that he spent a long time working with Steve Yzerman. And, that's been a pretty good education. A long time with the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. And, he was part of the front office there, a key part of the front office there that really turned that organization into what it is today. Julian Brisebois got his name on the cup, but Steve Yzerman's handprints were all over that cup in terms of, building the Lightning organization to a position where they could win it. He's more recently went back to Detroit with Yzerman. And, this is what we would call a traditional GM hire. A longtime player who transitioned into a long career in the front office and, did an excellent job from what I've been told on his interview to come out as the winner in Anaheim. And, this is an interesting job, right? Because, it's quite different than say like Kent Hughes in Montreal taking over the 32nd place team in the league. Anaheim's having an unexpectedly strong season. They've kind of, I don't know if they're fully through their rebuild, but they're certainly at the late stages of what we would call the rebuild. The last couple of years have been hard, but they've drafted some good young players and they're starting to see the fruits of that labor. They got Mason McTavish coming soon. He's over right now in Beijing playing for Team Canada at the Olympics. But, there's a pipeline that's been built up and there's already some on ice success. And so, he's not coming usually in these, especially if you're getting hired mid-season, you're usually coming in for the teardown, quite honestly. Like that's typically the circumstances here. Now, remember Bob Murray, his predecessor, stepped aside, acknowledged a drinking issue at the time. And so, it's little different circumstances to take that job. And so I think that Pat's experience for so long, I think it was 12 years he worked alongside Yzerman, is going to serve him well. And, they were looking at sort of different candidates, I guess those that haven't, maybe we're not at the top of the list, although they did also interview Jason Botterill, who was a GM in Buffalo and currently the assistant GM in Seattle as part of this process. So, I think that there's some really intriguing, quick decisions Verbeek's got to make, Julian. He's got three pretty notable UFAs in Hampus Lindholm, Josh Manson, and Rickard Rakell. He's got a team that's right at the playoff marker, basically, right, flirting, certainly in the playoff race. And, he's got to figure out, does he resign those players? Is he trading them for future assets? Because this is a rebuild still. Is he maybe acquiring guys at the deadline? Like he's going to hit the treadmill with it already on, like set to 6 miles an hour or whatever. Like he's jumping on and going into, he's got to get his legs pumping. So it'll be I think it's an interesting hire, and I think it'll be a busy first few months for Verbeek on the job there.
Also, his nickname was the Little Ball of Hate. Do I have that right?
You do have that right. Yeah. I don't know him well personally, but I think that tells you maybe about his personality on the ice back in the day.
Okay. The next one I just pulled up here. We talked about this topic earlier this week, and then people got mad at us at our clickbait title of Austin going to Arizona, which we don't necessarily think is going to happen, but whatever. NHL execs are not happy with Arizona's proposal to play at Arizona State University. What have you heard about it from others in the league?
I think it's the players themselves that should be most upset, and not because the rink is going to be poor or anything, but, players and owners share in hockey-related revenue, it's called, money that's made off of hockey games, like selling tickets and popcorn and beer and parking spots and everything that goes around it. And what, the Coyotes aren't going to be able to do at Arizona State University is sell as many of those things because it doesn't have the inventory. It is only 5,000 seats. I believe there's 16 boxes, whereas, some arenas have between like 40 and 80 boxes, for companies and hosting there. And right. Those are sort of premium opportunities to make money as an organization. And so, what it's going to do, I understand why they're doing it from the Coyotes perspective. Like the plan they have for Tempe, if they can get it through, is outstanding. I've actually seen some of what's proposed there in terms of, a whole area around the arena that would be developed with restaurants and shops and, condos and things like where people would want to live. Like it's really pretty impressive. It's Tempe is close to downtown Phoenix. It's in a better location than where they've been playing since 2003. I think it would be a lifeline if they could get that arena built, and it's an if still at this point. I think we could probably once and for all end the discussion of their future there, or at least for a good amount of time, because I do think it would give them a lot of chances to make money. But anyway, the short term is not that short. It's 3 to 4 years they're looking at playing at Arizona State University. And so, yeah, there's other people sort of snickering about the idea. It's 10,000 seats less than you have in Winnipeg, which is the smallest arena currently right now. And so it's significant. Like, that is going to be lost revenue. There's no way around it. Now, there's not a lot of other opportunities or places for them to play. As you'd imagine in most cities, there's not like multiple 20,000 seat venues in too many cities. I mean, sure, in New York or something, you find that, but it's not easy to move a home within the same city if you're not building it. And so, the Coyotes are in a spot, and I think it's the players that should probably be most upset, because they actually, if you look at the CBA, they don't really have, there's not much recourse the union can have. I mean, the players that think about this stuff can complain, and I'm sure it'll be raised privately as an issue, but there's not publicly all that much they can do. And so less money into the league is less money on the paychecks of the guys who play the game.
That is true. You mentioned the Winnipeg Jets. This is just more of a mental note for myself. Between the next episode that we do or the one after, we got to find time to talk about the Jets, because it feels as if they've been in free fall mode for the last little while. It's a bit wild. Yeah,
and Mark Scheifele, I see, he's taking a lot of heat in that market, and struggling with his play right now. And so you're right. Let's dig in there maybe on Monday.
Absolutely. All right, this next one. You mentioned Kent Hughes earlier. Kent Hughes recently discussed his vision for the Montreal Canadiens with a few outlets. I know La Presse has talked to him, and The Athletic has talked to him as well. Of some of the players who have been rumored to be on their way out, guys like Jeff Petrie or Ben Sherratt, who do you actually see leaving ahead of the trade deadline?
Sherratt, 100%. There's significant interest in him already in the marketplace. I think that you'll see the Canadiens get something like the David Savard return for him, which I believe was a first and a fourth round pick, I want to say. But anyway, it was more than a first, was what Columbus got from Tampa. As part of that deal, he only makes $3.5 million on the cap, which is less than some of the other defensemen out there. The Canadiens are willing to eat 50% of the contract, so that makes him, for contenders that are having cap gymnastics to perform to bring in anyone. I think that's a big positive for them. Petrie's an interesting case. Like, at this point, I don't get the sense he's asked for a trade, but I do think he's open to a trade. And he's got a couple years left on his deal, a little over $6 million. So it's a difficult contract in the sense that his play this year has really been off. Like, something, he was a borderline Norris candidate last year, honestly. And this year, nothing's working. And some scouts I've spoken to, actually think it's just kind of the situation has run its course in Montreal, that some of it is just everything going on with the team. I mean, I've said this to you, I think, before, but like, the Canadiens obviously made some bad personnel moves in the summer, but a lot's gone wrong to put them in this situation too, to be this far down the standings, to have this few wins. And that takes a toll on a veteran player, right? Like, Jeff Petrie he knows he's on the back nine in terms of how many years he's got left to play. He played in a Stanley Cup final in June and July, and all of a sudden now he's on a last place team. And so, I do think that whoever gets him will get a good player, even though the results haven't been there for him this season. And I do expect him to be moved as well by the deadline. It's a trickier trade because you're talking about multiple years on the contract. I think the Sherratt deal is pretty straightforward. I mean, essentially the Canadiens are just holding an auction for him. Like, just hold on him and wait and see what, there's a number of contending teams are interested in trading for him, and just see where the price ends up. There might be a bit more nuance to a Petrie trade that has to go on, but I think both of those guys are prime candidates to be moved by the 21st of March. And, some of the other decisions, because there are other veteran players, I could see those coming a little later on, but those are the two most likely to be moved in my eyes now.